This is the story of Takamiya, who is an ordinary student. He has a beautiful classmate named Kagari who is very popular in their school. Because of this she was nicknamed Princess by her schoolmates. Just like him and other students, she only takes the bus to school. But Takamiya was wondering why she would ride in a public vehicle because as far as he knows Kagari was a daughter of a very wealthy businessman. Not only were they in the same class, but they sat next to each other. One time Takamiya accidentally dropped his eraser and when he was about to get it, Kagari suddenly picked it up and handed it to him. He thought he was lucky because Kagari noticed him, but it became a reason for him to be bullied and beaten by Kagari's fans who envied on him. One day, his teacher ordered him to take the papers to their room, but while walking on the hallway, his schoolmate who was with Kagari, took the papers from him. As he was walking to throw away garbages, he noticed something moving inside the trash can. He pulled it out and saw a rabbit-stuffed toy which has writings on it. According to the writings, a building is going to fall. Then just a few seconds later, a part of a building fell towards him. He thought he died at that moment, but when he opened his eyes he was surprised because Kagari was already carrying him and they were floating on the air. Before he could ask questions, two rabbit robots attacked them. As Kagari fights the robots, a woman called out Takamiya. He thought it was Kagari's friend, so he quickly went to her. But when he got there, a large number of robots similar to the one Kagari was fighting confronted him. They intend to kill Takamiya, but before they could do this, Kagari suddenly came to save him and burned all the rabbit robots. Takamiya still thought that he was only dreaming because it was impossible for Kagari to save him. Kagari said that it is her mission to protect him because for her, Takamiya was her princess. Suddenly a robot stood behind Kagari and was about to attack her, so Takamiya rushed to block the attack, but it hits him, then knocked him unconscious. One by one the robots stood up and were about to attack them again, but Kagari got pissed and ran out of patience with the opponents. She unleashed powerful flames that destroyed all the robots. When Takamiya regained consciousness, he was inside the private room of Kagari. She told him what happened and how she took him to her place. Then Takamiya realizes that Kagari was secretly protecting him. This was the reason why Kagari always ride the passenger bus, why they sit next to each other and how the two of them have the same duties in their class. One day while Takamiya was on the bus going to school, Kagari asked him if they could sit next to each other. Because of this, Kagari's fans are very angry with Takamiya for they were so jealous. Their schoolmates glared at him because even on their way to school, Kagari walked next to him. Suddenly, his stomach hurt because of the students' evil stare at him. When he came out of the bathroom, he was confronted by those who bullied and beat him before. Fortunately, Kagari suddenly came to stop their schoolmates and protected him from bullying. During lunch break, Kagari invited him to eat their meals together. But there were still a lot of schoolmates following them around and Takamiya could not stand the words and glaring eyes of Kagari's fans, so he left. While walking he remembered the incident where the building fell. There he met a woman who has the cat's ears. She confronted and told him that she was the one who initiated the attack on him the other day. Just like Kagari, she also transformed into a witch. When she was about to take Takamiya away, Kagari came to save him again. The rabbit robots which they fought the other day reappeared, but there are more of them, including some giants, to attack Kagari and Takamiya. These robots attacked them at the same time, and when he opened his eyes, Kagari was on top of him, full of stab wounds. Takamiya was so worried at her and felt frustrated that he could not help. But Kagari did not care what happened to her as long as she can protect Takamiya. He got angry because Kagari was giving her life away just for him. But he realized that he should not be angry at her, instead he should trust her. Because of this, Takamiya promised that he would not avoid her anymore. As Takamiya was worried about Kagari's condition, she told him that she could end it right away as long as he obeyed whatever she said. While they were under those robots who attacked them, Kagari suddenly released a powerful attack that threw away all the robots above, including the one controlling them. Then Kagari appeared looking fierce in front of the opponent as she carried Takamiya. She was about to finish the opponent, but it still managed to escape. The next day their teacher announced that they had new classmates. The girls entered along with the one they fought the other day named Kureishi, including Rin, Katsura, Mei and Kana. Kagari knew that these 5 girls were witches like her. While on the bus, Takamiya thought about what was happening in his life because things happened unexpectedly. He was also surprised that Kagari did not take the bus to school that day. When he arrived at what he thought was their classroom, the 4 witches who were their new classmates were tied up and Kagari was pointing a gun at them. He found out the reason why Kagari was not on the bus, for she had already gone to school to torture them. When he asked why she was doing it to them, she answered that he mentioned it to her the other day that these girls might be a problem to him. That is why Kagari did not hesitate to punish the girls an instant. So Takamiya took the opportunity to ask Kureishi why she wanted to take him. She then replied that they needed his body and the white thing inside him. Because there was still another witch that Kagari did not catch, it suddenly attacked from above and took Takamiya. The 4 witches also escaped and they were about to fight Kagari, but in less than a minute they were immediately defeated. They were unable to match her power, so they fled immediately before Kagari set them all into fire. Once again, he woke up in Kagari's room and they talked about those who wanted to take him. Kagari wanted Takamiya to live a normal life, but for this to happen, they must defeat those who wanted to bring him harm. In this case, he begged her to tell him everything about the witches. He also wanted her to teach him how to use magic so he could be of help when someone attacked again. One day, while Takamiya was at home, Kagari called and wanted to meet him. While walking on the road, she said that she would tell him things he wanted to know about witches. According to Kagari, there are 2 classes of witches. These are the tower witches to which the 5 women they fought belong and the workshop witches to which she belongs. She told him that it was their job to protect the world. On the other hand, tower witches moved on their own and were being self-centered. These group did not care if anything happens to the human world or if someone dies. While they are inside the market, they encountered some tower witches. Kagari made sure to protect Takamiya and the little girl. The opponents seemed to be weak compared to Kagari and were easily defeated, so immediately left the place. When they were on their way home, Takamiya seemed bothered about what happened, so Kagari decided to teach him to use magic. She told him to come with her, and when they had reached their true destination he wondered why they are at the school. There he met Kagari's mother and a high official of the workshop witches. On the same day, their 5 classmates will try again to defeat Kagari. They never learned their lesson and were quickly defeated again by her. While the 2 of them were on the bus and were about to go home, suddenly a woman and a humanoid crocodile appeared. The driver of the bus disappeared and the bus was gradually covered in darkness. The woman stood up and approached them. This girl was also a member of the tower witches. Kagari could not move because of what the woman cast on her. Takamiya got in between them to protect Kagari, but the woman stabbed him. He realized that everything got on his body was transferred to Kagari, but it only happens whenever the 2 of them were together. He also found out that the reason Kagari was so strong was because her power comes from him. It became possible when they had the agreement, and for this reason Kagari was willing to sacrifice even her own life just to protect him. According to this woman, if Takamiya wanted to save Kagari, he needed to give her more power. Then the woman took out a round object and him to swallow it to unleash his true power. When the woman tried to make Takamiya swallow the round object, it exploded. Kagari showed her power when as her appearance changes and suddenly attacked the woman. The woman suffered some injuries from the attack, so she decided to leave. When Takamiya woke up, he saw Kagari unconscious beside him, so he immediately took her to the hospital. When he went home, he got something that seemed like a candy from his pocket and hid it in the drawer of the table. The day of Takamiya's real training to learn to use magic has arrived. The first thing he did was jump in front of Kagari. After he jumped, she was surprised at how high he could reach. She said that it was because of the cloak they were wearing. It made whoever wore it lighter and could move easily. The next thing she taught him was to fly using the broom, which amazed Takamiya. But no matter how he tried to do the same, he could not let it out. So Kagari decided to take him on the flight so he could get used to it until he was ready to summon his own broom. On their way home, they saw a woman who seemed to be bullied by 4 other women. Takamiya wanted to help, but Kagari did not want to because they should not interfere with the problems of humans that had nothing to do with evil witches. Because of Takamiya's desire to help the girl, he was able to let out his broom and ride on it to save the woman. But he could not control it, so he crushed on the group of women. The angry women approached to get back on him, but Kagari was already right behind them. To teach these women a lesson, she blew them all up. She told Takamiya to be careful because she found out that this was a trap. Those women were enemies who also members of the Tower Witches. In a restaurant, the 5 Tower Witches met to discuss how they could defeat Kagari. They thought of a way that instead of fighting her face to face they will just wait for Takamiya to be alone and they would take that opportunity to abduct him. But they thought that it was no use because the two of them were always together. Then another member of the Tower Witches arrived who once fought Kagari on the bus. She wanted to work with them to defeat Kagari and capture Takamiya. The next day, the Tower Witches started to attack again and they split into 2 groups. One of them went to Takamiya and the other 3 would fight Kagari. The woman who worked with them planned everything that they would do. When he was caught and was about to be taken away, a gigantic teddy bear suddenly came. It immediately picked up the 2 robot rabbits. It turned out to be Kazumi, the younger sister of Takamiya. He was shocked to see her there because he did not even know that his sister was also a witch. The opponent also used a robot to fight the teddy bear of Takamiya's sister. Another member of the Tower Witches just arrived to help her comrades in the battle. So Kazumi brought out the true form of her pet. It grew even bigger until its 2 opponents looked like ants and just stomped on it. The opponents were defeated and Takamiya hurriedly went to his sister to ask her help because he was worried and wanted to go to Kagari. But to his surprise and relief he saw her sitting on the giant teddy bear's hand and reading a book as if nothing had happened to her. The fight between Kagari and the 3 members of the Tower Witches was not shown, but surely that Tower Witches who picked on her to a fight were only beaten. Takamiya also learned that his sister and Kagari had an agreement on what place and day Takamiya should be in their care. Because of this incident, Kagari decided that she wanted Takamiya and her to live together in the same house so that she could protect him 24 hours a day. One day, Kagari went to Takamiya's house to formally inform his parents of her plan to live with Takamiya on the same roof. After hearing her explanations, the siblings were surprised when their mother immediately agreed to Kagari. But their mother informed them that Kagari was already Takamiya's fiancé. Their mother talked about the times when she was still studying with Kagari's mother. Because they were close friends, they both agreed that once they have their children in the future an arranged marriage would be set for both of them. Kazumi did not agree on this but she was not able to do anything about it so Kagari took Takamiya and left Kazumi in rage. When they arrived at Kagari's house, Takamiya saw a very tall building. He could not believe the things he saw inside the house and when they reached the floor of Kagari's room, someone was waiting for her. These caught her off guard and she told Takamiya to go to the 12th floor and closed the door of the elevator. Her visitor was named Medusa who was also a member of the Tower Witches. Kagari fought with her but she was also so strong that Kagari was struggling to defeat her. Takamiya got worried and tried to get in to help Kagari. He put on his cloak to prepare but the elevator's door caught fire and exploded. When he entered the room, he immediately approached Kagari but she covered his eyes to protect him from danger. Suddenly an ally of Medusa whistled and Medusa turned Kagari into stone. Takamiya did not know what to do until he saw the round object on the floor and made him remember the witch who told him that it could release his true power. He hesitated to use it but in that kind of situation it was his only choice so he immediately swallowed it. Suddenly a woman in white appeared and it was the White Princess Evermillion. Medusa ordered her allies to attack them but they were all defeated by the White Princess. Evermillion retaliated with a very strong attack that defeated their opponent. Kagari's mother who's watching the view and enjoying her coffee was shocked to see her house got destroyed after that powerful attack. While the 3 of them were still at the top, Evermillion told Takamiya the solution to return Kagari's body back to life. She said that he had to kiss Kagari but it put Takamiya into disbelief and hesitated to do it. The White Princess also informed him that the reason Kagari lost the battle was because he did not trust her enough. When Medusa woke up, Evermillion also disappeared at the same time. Takamiya had no choice but to follow Evermillion and immediately kissed Kagari's cheek. Medusa's 5 minions who had been beaten before rushed to attack but Kagari gave them a lesson and the Tower Witches were once again beaten. Then she and Medusa fought again and this time she was able to defeat her because Takamiya had his full trust on her. When Takamiya woke up, he was in the nurse office was being monitored by Kagari. Takamiya got up and quickly asked Kagari if she was okay. With a teary eyes he told her how worried he was and he thought that what happened was just a dream. But he was surprised to see Medusa and the 5 tower witches who were always beaten by Kagari behind the curtain. So Kagari kissed Takamiya, that turned his face red, and told him that she did that because he kissed her earlier. Meanwhile, someone called Kazumi and said that there would be a gathering of all workshop witches under Kazani's care. They were given order to look for the tower witches who caused trouble in Kagari's house recently. They did not see Medusa but caught Kronori and the other tower witch who were unaware of the incident and brought to Kazani. Since the house of Kagari was destroyed, they went back to Takamiya's house and told his mother that Kagari was going to live with them for the meantime. The next day, the members of the student council and the furious student council president had a meeting because they could not find ways to separate Kagari and Takamiya. The advisor of the student council, Mikagi, was also present, and the president of student council ordered him to find a way, otherwise they would expel him. As the two entered the school, their teacher, Mikagi, called them. He said he had something to say and took them to his laboratory. Mikagi told Takamiya about Kagari's situation before he moved there and the problems he had been causing in their school since they had been together all the time. So he begged Takamiya to stay away from her. But Kagari opposed and told their teacher that nothing can separate them. So Mikagi suddenly took Takamiya in a different dimension. They talked about the thing that Takamiya swallowed to bring out the white princess Evermillion. He said that there were 5 seals on Takamiya's body that were used to lock the white princess, but one of them was already broken when he swallowed that thing. Because of this, it was also possible to break the 4 seals one by one, and it could not be stopped unless Takamiya himself would be the one they need to lock up. Since Kazani was assigned to the headquarters to watch Takamiya's movements, she was the only one who could do it, but she currently did not know about the destruction of the seal yet. He also told Takamiya to be thankful for Kazani's strength because he was able to live a free life. Kagari suddenly came and attacked Mikagi. She took Takamiya and they immediately returned to the laboratory. On the other day, Kagari ordered Takamiya to announce to the whole school that all students and the teachers should go to the gym. The students immediately gathered there and Kagari went to the stage and began to speak. Using her rights as one with the highest position in the student council, she fired the current student council president and replaced her with Takamiya and her as its vice president. This was Kagari's method so that there will be no more hindrance for them to be together. Before going home, they went to a toy store and Takamiya bought something. When Takamiya was about to pay, Kazumi abducted him while attacking Kagari. They immediately left, but a large dragon followed them and Kagari was on board. Kagari attacked them and Kazumi lost control until they crashed into a building and they both fell. Kagari immediately saved them and the 3 of them fell into the building that owned by the workshop witches. Meanwhile, Medusa's 5 minions were planning to take Takamiya, but Kagari was still awake. They waited patiently until morning, but they still could not do their plan because Kagari did not sleep, until they themselves fell into slumber. Medusa and her 5 minions knew about the white princess, so Kagari hid them in Takamiya's house so that Kazani would not track them. Because if they would be caught by her, they might mention about the white princess. When Takamiya entered the bathroom, he accidentally saw Medusa and the others bathing. Out of embarrassment, they attacked him. But Kazani was right there and saw the tower witches. She had been looking for them for a long time. She tried to attack the tower witches but Kagari stopped her from catching them. Medusa came to help Kagari and when she bit her, Takamiya lost consciousness. He dreamed of the conversations between Kagari and Medusa while he was unconscious after their fight. Then he found out the agreement between the two. When Takamiya regained consciousness, he saw Kagari's transformation after her fusion with Medusa. They started fighting until she turned Kazani into stone. Kagari thought he had defeated her mother but she suddenly got hold of her after the effect of Medusa's power immediately wore off on her. When Kazani was about to punch Kagari, Takamiya made them switch places resulting for him to receive the punch and losing consciousness again. When he woke up, he and Kagari were locked up and she told him the same thing their teacher, Mikagi, had mentioned about the 5 seals on his body. She planned to defeat her mother because if they defeated her, she would surely become their ally. On the other hand, Kazani was about to return carrying Medusa to torture her but suddenly 2 workshop witches came and forcibly took Medusa. Because of this she still did not know about the destruction of a seal on Takamiya's body. While Takamiya and Kagari managed to get out of jail, then out of Kazani's frustration she sent them home. At school, while they were going down the stairs, they heard a noise, so they quickly went to it. When they reached the area, they saw a group of people wearing animal costumes who were causing trouble. They were chased by these people when Tuoko tripped, so Takamiya came back to help her. The leader of this group, Rinin, approached him and gave him a letter telling him to go to the gym. Tuoko mentioned to Takamiya that she saw the former student council president reporting on Rinin about her problem, and this might be the reason for the trouble caused by this group. Kagari knew the leader of the group. She was known as Rinin the Bear Killer because it killed a tiger that escaped from a zoo named Lucky Bear. Takamiya decided go alone and meet Rinin at the gym. Inside the gym, there were other students who were cheering on them for a fight. Rinin approached and beat Takamiya. When she was about to punch him again, he remembered the advice given by Kagari on how to defeat the opponent. Because of this, he was able to avoid the attack and bring down Rinin. Suddenly the light went out and Koreishi's group came to get Takamiya, but they were beaten this time by Rinin for interfering in the fight. Kagari also came and punched Rinin in the face, caused her to immediately pass out. When the light turned on again, they made Takamiya stand up as if he had defeated Rinin. After that, Rinin found out that the former student council president was only using her and that they were also accomplice to increase the students' trust in Takamiya. One day, Kagari took Takamiya in a training on how to use his power correctly. She released monster-like flames for Takamiya to spar with. It started to attack Takamiya, but he could not fight properly because he had not yet released his familiar. He was hit hard and Kagari immediately stopped the flaming monster from attacking Takamiya. Kagari was about to stop the training, but Takamiya did not want to because he wanted to get stronger right away. That's why Kagari took him to the edge of the building and dropped him without letting him use his broom. Kagari wanted Takamiya to release any creature that could catch him. When it was only a few meters away from the ground, Kagari decided to help him, but Takamiya suddenly released a giant nurse as his familiar. It punched the opposite building, then Takamiya suddenly weakened and lost consciousness and his familiar disappeared at the same time. Meanwhile, Kazani went to a place with Rinin and they saw the bomb that their enemy placed to hostage the whole city. It was done by the tower witch named Weekend. She met with Kazani and she thought that Weekend wanted to negotiate in exchange of Takamiya, but it turned out that the bomb was a different matter. She started to blow up different parts of the city with this bomb, and because of this, Kazani weakened. Takamiya and Kagari immediately left the school and went to Kazumi and Rinin's workshop. There he met Natsumi, the leader of the 5 workshop witches who were assigned to protect the entire city. While explaining to them about the explosions happening, Natsumi suddenly shot Takamiya and Kagari immediately punched her. But the gunshots on Takamiya were transferred to Kagari, causing her to be hurt and lose consciousness. They planned to hide Takamiya in a room, and since he could not do anything else, he took Kagari with him. When Kagari woke up, he explained to Takamiya the possible reasons why they were imprisoned. One of these was Kazani's defeat. So Natsumi were waiting on her recovery while they made sure that the tower witches could not take Takamiya until Kazani's full power returned. Suddenly a teddy bear fell and Weekend's message was about to be broadcasted, but Kagari immediately destroyed it. The two of them forced their way out of the room and saw the city destroyed by the explosions. On the other hand, Weekend gave 30 minutes to the workshop witches to bring Takamiya to her, or else the bombs attached to each witch would explode. When Kagari and Takamiya got close to their destination, they were greeted by Weekend's ally. It attacked them, and since they could not use magic, they found it hard to fight properly. Fortunately, due to the strength of Kagari's physical attack, she still defeated it. Natsumi went to Weekend to negotiate with her to give them more time, but she did not agree to their plea. When Takamiya and Kagari reached the place, he approached it so that he could have the contract with it. Before Weekend could detonate the bombs, Takamiya had completed the contract. As a result, the workshop witches had their powers returned. Because of this, Natsumi and others rescued those witches with bombs and they were able to defeat Weekend. Takamiya weakened, causing him to lose consciousness, and woke up next to Kagari. When they took Weekend to her jail, she detonated an ordinary bomb and some of her allies came as she escaped. Takamiya could see what was happening to other workshop witches as they were being attacked by Weekend. So Takamiya used his power to heal their comrades, but Kagari was forced to put him to sleep because he was using too much of his power that weakens him. She watched over him until Otori came and gave her a message, then she asked Otori to look after Takamiya for the meantime. On the other hand, Kazumi fought the ally of Weekend when suddenly Medusa appeared to help her and immediately defeated the opponent. After the fight, she took her minions and left the area. Kagari borrowed Otori's weapon and immediately left to meet Weekend. When she got there, she immediately attacked her, then she noticed that they were surrounded by bombs. Despite the danger, their battle continued. Even though Kagari could not use her full power because Takamiya was not by her side. She wore his clothes so she could keep up with Weekend in the fight. When she almost defeated Weekend, it summoned monsters. While Takamiya was still unconscious, he dreamed of Kazuni's past and suddenly met Mikagi, who showed him something. As their conversation continued, someone suddenly attacked them who was also Weekend's ally. Because of this, Mikagi forced Takamiya to wake up so he could get out of there because he was the target of the enemy. When he woke up, he immediately asked Otori where Kagari was. But before she could answer him, Mikagi called Otori and told her that there were bombs planted by the enemy in the evacuation. Takamiya heard this and forced Otori to bring him to Kagari. Meanwhile, Kagari was getting weaker and was being held by the monsters. Then Weekend blasted the monsters that held Kagari. Fortunately, Takamiya came to the location that made Kagari regained her strength and able to use her full power. She fought Weekend and defeated her this time. But Weekend had pressed the controller for the bomb, then Takamiya could see what was the upcoming danger. So he tried to use his power, but it only weakened him. Then he dreamed and found himself in the place where the White Princess appeared. The White Princess told him that she can fulfill Takamiya's request to return the people and buildings that were affected by the explosion, but in exchange of this was his own life. Takamiya did not hesitate and he immediately used the power, and as a result, the city was immediately restored to its former appearance. Kagari came up to Takamiya to stop him and told Evermillion or the White Princess to take her life instead. Kagari immediately returned to her normal form, and when Takamiya was about to approach her, Weekend stabbed him. He removed the knife and tried to attack Weekend, but he was too weak and fell to the floor. This gave Weekend a chance to escape, and when they got out, Kronori was waiting for them and she asked them to come with her. But the two got into a fight and Weekend immediately lost it. Otori immediately went to Takamiya and Mikagi also called. He explained the situation to Takamiya. He said that it was not possible that another life would be the replacement because it was Takamiya who had the agreement with the White Princess. Because of this, Mikagi thought of a way and wanted Takamiya to do for it could possibly save Kagari's life. They started to do it with the help of Otori, and the last thing Takamiya had to do was to kiss Kagari. He kissed her on the forehead, but it did not change anything, so they asked him to try it on the lips. Takamiya was shy but actually wanted to do it too. Before he could do this, Kagari's breathing returned and she woke up. On the other hand, after getting out of prison, Kazuni went straight to Kronori and Weekend's location. Then Weekend found out that Kazuni did not need a week to regain her strength, instead it would only took her 20 hours. But she decided to stay in the prison and let Kagari and the others face the enemies. Now that Kazuni wanted to take Weekend from Kronori, they had a fight and Kazani won. At the moment, Takamiya found out that Evermillion promised something to Kagari, that she would come in case something happened, that Takamiya needed a strong power when his life was in danger. Evermillion also confessed that she did not give Takamiya her power, and it was Takamiya himself who released his own power to bring back the people and the city in order. After the incident, they lived peacefully. One day, while they were walking to school, they were stopped by 5 tower witches. But then again, they were defeated by Kagari in that fight.